allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on the agenda, we need to delete 4D, contract renewal for veterinary services. Apparently she's retiring. Any other changes, additions, or deletions?
Motion to approve as modified.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Agenda is approved.
Just a minute, did we miss item 2? Or 3?
No, we just
No,
did 2.
we just did 2.
Okay, oh, just the agenda, okay, fine.
Let's see, Mr. Eldon James, priority updates. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's good to be with you in these strange times. I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of an update of what's going on with the special session. A little bit about a couple of key bills. Talk a little bit about what seems to be going on with the budget. And then kind of try to look over the horizon a little bit at the 2021 session. And with the active participation of members of this board and VACO's committees, you know, trying to look over the horizon right now is a bit of a challenge. Let's see, the General Assembly convened 35 days ago, August 18th. And I think it's safe to say, as with many public bodies, they've been having their challenges with managing the meeting process, both for the floor sessions and for committees. The Senate, being the smaller body, has managed to have a little smoother time than the House. And I think that's, we can give it plenty of reasons, but one of them is just the sheer size. It's easy to manage a large room with 40 people than it is an even larger room with 100 people. Some key bills and some things that have happened, some bills that we were really quite worried about, concerned with from a local government perspective. Qualified immunity has been put aside. Both Senate and House bills failed. The House bill got out of the House and went over to the Senate, was killed. The same Senate Judiciary Committee that had killed the Senate version. However, the chairman of the committee announced that he was going to be forming a select committee to really look hard at that issue and to try to come back with something that could be considered for passage at the 21 session. So put that on your over the horizon list right off the top. He also said he was going to reach out to the chairman of the Courts of Justice Committee on the House side and see if maybe they could make it a joint special select committee. That remains to be seen. So the Senate is going to be trying to have something to put before them next January. The workers' comp for COVID-19, that also was killed. It was the Senate version was sent back to committee, which should effectively kill it, although we do not have official procedural rules as we normally do that would be adopted by both chambers. Each chamber is kind of operating independently with their own set of rules because they could not jointly agree on a set of rules for the special session. And I'll just let that sit there as it is. The quarantine leave bill also has been put aside due to cost. We'll save that commentary until I do the over the horizon look. Big picture, the chambers are acting like we've passed crossover, but again, they don't have a procedural resolution, so none of us can say they've actually done that, but they're only bills that didn't move over just are kind of sitting there. And so there's a list of bills that, are gone, hopefully. It is a very strange situation, because normally we have a set of dates, and as you cross that date, then certain things have happened or haven't happened and they're over with, and we really don't have that this year. The budget. The Senate did not allow members of the Senate to submit any budget amendments. The House did consider budget amendments. They had a bunch of them, as you can imagine. The House Appropriations Committee did two different hearings, and they gave everybody the opportunity to present their budget amendments, their requested changes to the governor's proposed budget. The limitation was that no matter how many you'd put in, you could only present your top three to the committee. And so you can kind of figure some just went away. That's all we know. There has been no discussion within subcommittees of either of the money committees about what would make up their version of the budget. So it's a real black box at this point. We did hear, and as you know, all the folks that do what I do for the local governments, we collaborate, and several days a week at lunchtime we're on a Zoom together to try to compare notes. And yesterday it was pointed out that it appears that the Senate is going to try to report out a budget when they reconvene Thursday and Friday. Committees are meeting, but they haven't had floor session. They'll have, next floor session will be at 11:55 a.m. on Thursday, and they'll be meeting on Friday. So rumor has started that the Senate's going to report something out. We haven't seen anything. We have no idea what that's going to look like. Is it just going to be the governor's budget? Is it going to be where leadership of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee has made some changes to it? We know one thing, and that's the special appropriations bill, the one bill that dealt with the postage, prepaid postage reimbursement for localities for voting. That was approved, and that essentially is an appropriations bill, because it was an amendment to the Appropriations Act, but all it dealt with was just the one issue. Now, having said that, the other rumor that is about is that the governor really doesn't need them to take action on the budget. I had this confirmed to me yesterday by a senior member of the administration. And if the assembly went home and didn't adopt a budget, the governor feels like he's got all the direction he needs to go forward. And if they needed to make adjustments, they can make adjustments at the regular session in the winter. That senior official also confirmed what I had heard in the VACO VML discussion, that the administration is hearing that the Senate's going to report something out to put pressure on the House to take some action. What may come out is not a comprehensive budget bill. It may be what is referred to as a skinny budget. It'll follow the pattern of that prepaid postage and maybe be 3 or 4 or 5 items. And here are the items that I'm hearing being talked about. More money for VATI, for broadband. Trying to address the ADM problem. Because almost every school system has lost students for homeschooling or private schools, and yet all that money for the originally anticipated ADM has been budgeted. So it's not like they've got to appropriate any new money. It's just budget language to say that DOE reimburses at what people projected when the budget was put together, rather than the actual September 30 ADM numbers. There are senior members of both chambers are very concerned about that impact, because it impacts almost every jurisdiction. also, to a lesser extent, talk about the sales tax issue and the impact on schools. So there may be something there. There may be one or two, well, let me say this. If some criminal justice reform legislation that's working its way through gets passed that has a price tag, that would be addressed in it as well. And then we may see, well, I'm gonna stop there. I think that's, it's not, if it goes any farther than that, it's not gonna go any farther than that. Again, we'll kind of judge by, if the Senate does in fact report out a comprehensive budget at the end of this week, as is being rumored, then maybe that's the route they'll go. And I apologize for it all sounding so sillily vague, but that's the world we're living in right now. It's very difficult to get to talk to legislators. I was looking forward to the River Basin Commission meeting, if we'd done it live in person, because we had a couple of them in the large room with us. We could have maybe gotten some feedback tomorrow. So let's, before I move on to 2021, any questions about all that? All right,
It's all question.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get back to normal meeting days at some point in the future when we can all have conversations and learn more about what's going on rather than everything at a distance. I would, referring back to what I said at the beginning, you've got a couple of those COVID-related or criminal justice reform-related items that aren't gonna make it through the special session. And I think anything that's in that category, you're gonna see back. Now, whether that's gonna get through or not is another story, but you had an awful lot of discussion in committees about several of those bills that they needed more time to work through them than they had in the special session. And some were referred to the Crime Commission, others were just killed, and as I said before, others with a special select committee that's gonna be appointed to try to develop legislation by January. So I think you could just kind of look down the list of bills and see, these are things you're gonna see with a different number come 2021. Especially the quarantine leave, the workers' comp. Resolutions imposing a time limit on the governor's authority to issue emergency executive orders. The Senate was prepared to pass something, the House was not. I think the Senate is prepared to pass something come the next session. I don't know whether the House will be, but I fully expect it'll be back. Because the great concern among legislators that they're just ceding the legislative branch's authority when the governor can issue an executive order and declare an emergency that has no time limit, and the executive order can live for a year or a year and a half. And so the legislature wants some way to have a check. Not that they make it stop, but that they have a review at some point. That's what the Senate seemed interested in. I would expect there are going to be other issues that are going to be revealed or in the process of being revealed to us because of the pandemic that will come up. Now, what do I mean by that? And I'll just give you an example. Think of mental health issues relative to social isolation for seniors and people with disabilities who are shut-ins and have no other family. And it is, I'm seeing in Richmond among agency and university folks, that being a discussion point of real concern about mental health issue. So I expect things like that, and that's certainly the only one, to be more revealed as we go forward, that will come forward as issues. As a matter of fact, I think you brought something like that up at one of the BACO.
At the Health and Human Services Committee, yes.
Because Katie Boyle reached out to me about that issue. We had some discussion discussion, but it's interesting, because I've heard it in other circles as well. So I imagine you're hearing that locally.
Well, the Community Services Board is, members talking about that as well.
So are the area agencies on aging.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, at this point, I have not prepared, which I would normally have, a first draft of a platform, because I made a decision in August, I wanted to see what happened with the special session. Of course, I didn't think we'd go 35 days. I was hoping 2 weeks. And I think we're, at best, at least another week and a half, at least. If Senate reports out a budget on Friday, it's possible they could get done by the following week. Cross our fingers. Because right now, we're now moving into the time when the governor is starting to develop his revenue forecast for his presentation in December. And so this budget process is beginning to push into the next one. So, with that, I think I maybe have taken too much of your time. I'd be happy to try to answer your questions. Maybe it'll just be, I don't know. But
We may not even know what to ask at this point. That's part of the problem.
That's more the issue, yeah.
To what extent are the agencies involved?
Pardon me?
To what extent are the state agencies involved in terms of providing input to the governor and/or the Senate and House?
That's a great question. Based on the conversation I had late yesterday afternoon with and this is a significant agency head who's been around state government for a long time. I think there's a lot of that going on. It's just picking up the phone and making a phone call, and so you don't, there's no hearings, there's no testimony like you would normally have in subcommittees before, active General Assembly, because people would get in the room and have the conversations. And then there'd be a lot of conversation. What was confirmed to me is that agency directors are getting phone calls from legislators, asking questions and asking for input, which is a good thing, but we don't know what that dialogue is. Something I would throw out for y'all to be thinking, and I'm sure you're already thinking this, but I just want to say it. When we come out of this, there's going to be major re-engineering of everything we do. And, whether it's K through 12 or Community Services Board or whatever. And anything that y'all are hearing in your community that are what I'm just calling issues revealed, I'd love to hear what you're hearing, so that I can try bouncing that off of other people. Because we're all gonna have an awful lot of work to do when we get back and we've got this behind us and we figure out how we move forward so that we don't have the level of disruption the next time we have something that we've seen. Mr. Chairman, members, it's great to see all of you. I hope everybody's healthy.
Thank you.
very much, Alden. We appreciate your detailed information. All right, next is consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. All right, new business, award of contract for public safety building furniture. Ms. Amos.
Good evening, everyone. In front of you, we have a contract to purchase furniture for the new public safety building. Herman Miller is the company that is the brand that provides furniture and installation through a cooperative contract with American Office. Pricing for the furniture and installation shall not exceed $300,000. Funding for this project has been budgeted in the capital improvements plan under the public safety building, furniture and fixtures, project number C-1034. Staff would like approval to utilize the cooperative contract 202-000006 622 with American Office for the purchase and installation of Herman Miller furniture for the new public safety building.
Do we know exactly what kind of furniture we're buying?
It's modular furniture, so it's, more of a modern look rather than your everyday stuff. So it's designed and for the, specifically for each space. So we work with consultants and now take the CAD drawings and lay out everything and we make it fit.
And our chairs will be comfortable and adjustable for height?
Or at least all the same height.
Might throw one short one in there just.
Okay.
All right.
Move
I
to
take-
approve.
Yeah, I'll second it.
I would like to see what that furniture looks like.
Yeah, I
Well,
think,
that's what I was gonna, I said, it seems to me that early on, we need to see some type
Right,
of a,
just to clarify, so we're awarding this contract for 3 of the 4 wings. The Board of Supervisors wing and the conference room will be using a local vendor, and that input, will get input from the board for selection for that.
but even the other 3 wings, as you described them, it seems to me that there ought to be some, at some point in time, if it's not available now, some listing of what it is and those, quantities, those kind of things.
At least for the department directors in those areas.
Yeah,
Yes, my
that's the
next
thing,
step
if they've
will be to
approved it, then
meet with their department directors and do the design and selection phase, and I can definitely put that information together for the board.
Okay, so there's a process that will
Yes.
lead to the utilization of this contract. I guess that's, okay.
Any other discussion? All right. And I guess it was a first and you seconded, Mr. Williams?
Did,
All right, all in favor?
aye?
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Amanda.
kinda like going to buy the stuff. You got X amount of budget?
That's exactly it. All right, item 5B is Board of Equalization Summary of Actions. Ms. Charlotte?
Good evening, gentlemen. I would like to take a moment before I go over some of the statistics to thank our volunteer board for the Board of Equalization, Mr. Licata, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Willis, and to staff members who really went above and beyond to assist with this process, and that's Sarah Keeler and Michelle Williams. So they were very instrumental in getting us moving forward. As you can see from the memo here and the chart, we received applications for 81 parcels, 78 residential and 3 commercial. And I've listed out here a brief summary of the changes that were involved. Most went down. There was one citizen that requested an increase to land and buildings or improved values, and that was very lengthy presentation. And so the summary on the bottom is just a reflection of the dollar amount, the value change, so you can see that. And we
Was
are-
that bottom line decreased and improved values, got that twice?
Yeah, that
Oh.
was my question.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
think it's probably increased.
It should be increased,
Okay, thank you.
yes. The positive dollar amount is the increase. So at this point in time, Ms. Williams is finalizing all the minutes. We've already prepared all the reports for the Department of Taxation, and have that all filed and ready to be sent away to them. And at this time, I am requesting, if you're interested in me scheduling a work session in the future to discuss how we wish to handle the reassessment process the next time.
What is our normal, going into the equalization board, a number of cases instead of 80? What do we normally have?
Last time we had 8, I believe.
8?
Yeah, if you would, Stephanie, characterize the process a little bit. I had a very brief conversation with someone who was involved in this a few days ago. And concern is probably a little bit of an overstatement, but there was some discomfort with the amount of confusion that existed. It looked like an adequate job of giving people information or the ability to get answers to questions was pretty difficult.
There
Is
seems
that,
to be- Yes, sir, there seemed to be a running theme, so it's my understanding that currently our firm who does this sends out notifications, around November, early December, and then they're able to communicate with the citizens and hold an appeal process in December. Several folks made it to this part, so if they're not satisfied with that, then they can appeal to the Board of Equalization. There did seem to be a theme that there was, some frustration, with lack of information provided, by the reassessment, vendors, employees, or proper follow-up. I would say at least 2 or 3 folks kind of got to this stage and either didn't really need to be there because it had already been handled, or it was handled in between. With COVID, we did, keep extending deadlines for a while, so that was a little bit of confusion, but, there did seem to be some confusion with information flow.
Was some of this because some of the people weren't able to get through the review with the reassessment people?
Some, yes, and some they just weren't satisfied with the
Yeah,
answers
that's-
that they got there. I received a request last week for someone who wanted to appeal, and, the deadline was in June, so I think some of it is just, better information. It is the sample template, I'm sure you've brought it with me, the sample letter that the citizens get does have a lot of information on it. It is required by code to have that information on there, but it is a lot to look through, and it does describe the process in detail.
I definitely would like to schedule a work session to move forward with going in-house with this, rather than contracting out to what I consider to be less than stellar firms. And we've had issues for many years with them.
If we
Well,
could,
and the other people were worse.
if,
Well,
if,
and
if we could, I would like to get, how other, counties do it in-house and what their processes are.
Staff has worked on that
I know,
previously.
I'm just saying, but I think that would be something to sort of give us an idea of the scope of things to look at.
And also, the commissioner has all that information and is more than willing to share it with us. She's, the one thing that she has said is initially it will cost us more money. However, it will end up costing less money and be much more efficient. And obviously, we will have a hand in it instead of
Well, the other comment,
less than a stellar operation.
the other comment that I don't think surprises any of us, was people were not able to really understand why the period between assessments was as long as it is. Therefore, the amount of change was magnified, and people were thinking this happened over the last year, when in fact it was averaged out, I guess, over several years. And so I think one of the things that we need to look at is, what is the better frequency in terms of, part of it is a question of affordability, of course, but there's also, it does have an impact on the citizens, the residents, and we heard that, I heard it directly, and I think the Board of Equalization heard that numerous times as well. So I agree with the staff recommendation here that we should, take this issue on, and it's probably a series of work sessions, but move forward with that and evaluate what our options are.
Any further discussion on that? And then, what did you need, Stephanie? Anything other than that?
Just permission to go ahead and work with Ms. Simpson to schedule the work session.
All right,
Thank
go
you
for
very
it.
much.
Thank you for taking this
Thank
on.
you, Stephanie. All right, 5C is FY '21 requested staff additions. Ms. Bradley?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the item before you is really a budget amendment and a request for appropriation, that would fund the addition of 3 staff positions, basically by the general fund beginning January 1. Until that time, because of the nature of the positions, we have CARES Act funding that would cover them. But 2 of the positions are for additional deputy sheriffs. These were positions that were requested for the current budget, but were not included in the final adopted budget. The 2 positions would sheriff to fully implement his, 3D deployment plan, which he is currently trying to operate, but with a modified, short-staffed version. The third position is in the area of information technology and would be a system administrator position. And this one arises from the addition of all the technology that we have acquired in recent years related to public safety. In addition, as you know, a large part of our CARES Act funding was directed for technology improvements, and that put additional stress on our existing IT staff. So this position would be a system administrator particularly focused on the public safety technology needs and to provide support for public safety. The total amount that we would need to appropriate is $119,711. And I think the sheriff is here if you'd like more information, and I see our director in the hall if you need more information specifically on the jobs.
Anybody like to hear more? Either the sheriff or the IT director?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, item 6 is old business. Do not see any. Item 7, landfill expansion, cell number 2. Mr. Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Really, the purpose of this memo was just to bring the board up to speed, because some time lapses between the time we adopt CIPs and the year goes along. So this is just kind of a recap and a reminder of what's going on, and our projected schedule for getting that done. As you recall, during the budget CIP process, we have no choice but to expand, because cell number 1's filling up and it's time for cell number 2 to come along. So, we have, issued approval of some, task orders with Draper Aiden under the annual contract to move forward with the design. They're working on that now. And as you can see from the memo, we hope to have a design and all the documents go along with that ready, so that we can put it on the street in March, and then staff will be back before the board in April, once we've identified a low bidder for the construction piece, and we'll be back to the board's approval to award that and move on. With a final goal of finishing the cell up in April, May of 2022, and then get the certificate to operate, move forward.
Are these cells filling up faster or less, or? Less than what we had expected?
From our original expectation of cell 1, it's lasted a good bit longer than we anticipated. And we're still not seeing any large increases in tonnage, so cell 2.
We're getting a lot of construction,
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're seeing any increase. No, not really.
Kurt,
Okay.
for our benefit, you might describe a little bit why we need to move forward with cell 2, even though cell 1's not completely
Yes, sir.
full. There's a couple of important reasons why those have to be timed the way they are.
Yes, sir, that's a good point. So cell 1, even when we start putting waste in cell 2, cell 1 will still have capacity in it, but as you recall, there's 8 different cells in total for this permit, and each cell ties into each other, so you can't completely fill one cell before you need the next cell to be ready and usable. And then the same thing will happen with cell 3. Cell 2 will still have capacity when we start cell 3, but eventually they will all tie in together. And a good description of that too is we don't anticipate any closure activities until we're into like the 4th cell, because cell 1 and 2 and 3 kind of piggyback into each other, and then when they reach their capacity, we'll close it at that time and move forward. But all these cells just kind of build into each other.
Bigger
practical
mountain.
reason is you end up, if you fill cell one, you end up having to work on the top of a pyramid, basically, which you can't do. So you have to bring it up in a pattern.
About an acre.
You gotta move the next thing down.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Little, did you have a question?
No, I just said we're making a big mountain, and
Yep, we're making a big mountain, a little hill at a time.
that's right.
Yep.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 8, County Attorney's Report.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Logan. Item 9, County Administrator's Report. Two-year Board of Supervisors Strategic Plan, priorities.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to reflect on the fact that we held a retreat July 18th and discussed a lot of different things, but among them was a quick review of the document entitled Orange County Board of Supervisors Two-Year Strategic Priorities. And that document was dated the previous 2 fiscal years. And so there was discussion of the 6 priorities, and there was an agreement to drop 3 of them as either completed or overcome by events, and then adding a couple of issues. And so this is my attempt to capture the board's strategic priorities in a single document, updated to reflect fiscal 2021 to 21-22. And with that, I recommend this to the board for adoption as your 2-year strategic priorities, and I'm available to answer questions.
Move to approve.
Anybody have any? Okay.
Motion to approve.
That would be a second, sir. Mr. Goodwin did a motion. So
Preemptive.
any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, item 10, board comment. Everybody jump at once. Mr. Johnson? Anything, sir?
At the moment, no.
Okay. Mr. White?
No, sir?
That's good.
I would just like to thank y'all again for my day the other day. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Very good.
I'm
Happy
sorry-
birthday,
sorry
too.
you missed it.
Yeah, me too.
I made it. You know, so everybody dies right before the birthday,
That's right.
so I was quite pleased.
Yes, indeed.
Good job.
Yep. Mr. White? All right. I have nothing. We'll move on to item 11 is informational items. If there's no questions there. Item 12, appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. I believe, I know Mr. Frame has.
Yes, I would like to nominate Pastor Cliff Barnes to serve as the third county representative on the community, or on the Rappahannock Rapidan Community Service Board.
Cliff Barnes?
Yes.
Is JR around somewhere?
Did JR sign off on that?
All right. Any others? All right, in that case, everyone in favor of Mr. Barnes being on that?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. All right, next is calendar. Anything there, Ms. Simpson? Ms. Emmett, whatever you are today?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, there is a calendar item on your agenda to consider scheduling a public hearing for SUP 20-01, which is a request by the Mid-Atlantic Pyrotechnic Arts Guild. Staff originally proposed the first available meeting following planning commission hearing, which would be October 27th, 2020 at 7 p.m. The county administrator did forward you a request from the agent of the applicant, requesting a 6-month delay in scheduling the hearing. And that is before you this evening.
Questions on that? strike that then? Or just not take any action?
I'm not sure what, I don't think we should reschedule it for next March. I think if they need a 30-day break for some reason, but I don't think it's proper to call a 6-month timeout in the middle of the process.
Mr. Chairman, you can always defer this till next month, give the applicant a chance to respond to Mr. Johnson's concerns, and so just defer it till next month.
Okay.
That's fine.
Make that motion.
I understand their concern for being face-to-face, but
Okay, very good. There's no objections, we'll just defer it until next month to give the applicant an opportunity to give the reasons, reschedule, whatever. All right. There's nothing else on the calendar. We will, take a, recess or do we have, we don't have a time on it.
There's no
Okay,
time.
never mind. My mistake. We will move on to public comment then. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we currently have 5 speakers.
Okay. Real quick, before we get started, everyone needs to understand that we have a 2-minute time limit per speaker. And the public comment period is for the public to comment. It is not an interactive period. We can't respond to anything, so please keep that in mind when you speak, that it is not interactive, it is just a presentation by the speaker.
First speaker is Chris Ball, 27015 Tatum Road.
That's what I'm comfortable doing, but I'll speak for a minute. I don't know if you guys had this on your agenda or not, but the word went around that you were planning to discuss tearing down our Confederate monument tonight. So there's a few of us here to speak in defense of it. I want you to know that monument means a lot to this county, and it's the kind of history that should be preserved and not torn down. This kind of stuff, it's so many counties right now are tearing these things down without a moment's thought. They're destroying something that can't be replaced. And it matters to a lot of people. These markers, especially that kind of marker up there, they served as grave markers for many of the boys that never came home, bodies that were left to rot in fields. So that is, in my mind, it's a grave marker. And its destruction and its relocation anyway would be a grave desecration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, next speaker is Howell Taylor, resident of Orange.
Hello, honorable members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm speaking on behalf of the Taylor family, who has been here in Orange for well over 200 years and has had the same farm, the same family for 200 years. And the last 6 months have been unprecedented, I think, at least in my lifetime, at the destruction of Confederate monuments and of our history that we, at least for those of us who say that we are Confederate Americans, really hold dear. And that we hope that we will not bring any more hurt or harm to the county and citizens and people like myself who love our heritage and those who served in the Confederacy. We know we lost the war, and those monuments were here so that we could heal our nation and not divide and open up more wounds, and to be loving and forgiving on all sides. So we hope that the Board of Supervisors will remember that it's a place of healing and not let the rampaging and the angry mobs tear down things that clearly they don't seem to understand or care about one way or the other, since they haven't stopped with Confederate monuments, but have moved on to all other monuments, World War I, World War II, Korea, Frederick Douglass, and George Washington, and Abraham Lincoln. So we know that appeasing them won't satisfy them. So I thank you all for your time and speaking on behalf of the Taylor family who's been here hope that we can work together and hopefully make Orange a better and more loving and historical, fun place for people to visit and come.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Billy Foreman, 4497 Spotswood Drive.
Is it right? My name is Billy Foreman. I've lived in Orange County since 1972. There's been some concern why the Confederate statue is not on the agenda, or maybe there's some misunderstanding. But long story short, there's a lot of people upset. I'm not a homeboy. I was born and raised out west. I moved here in 1972. I'm not even a historian, but I'm a concerned person with what's going on. Orange County has a tremendous amount of history. Virginia has a tremendous amount of history. First thing I did is took my kids to all the shows, all the exhibits, all the reenactments that I could. I couldn't get enough. You got colonial history, you got antebellum history, you got Civil War, you got Revolutionary War, you got a multitude, even right here in Orange County. Let me cut to the quick. The elephant in the room is the statue in front of the county building. Some people, it's not a statue, it's a monument. It doesn't even, it's not even about a particular soldier. It's about the men who died in the Civil War from Orange County. I can't find any of them that had slaves. I did find there's people in this area that are related to those people on that monument, and they're quite concerned. I can't find any of those people had slaves. I can only find 2 plantations, maybe there's some more, but there's only 2 on the list in Orange County that were plantations.
15 seconds.
But anyway, in my mind, studying the history, with all parties concerned, there was a reconciliation effort by the government after the Civil War. It seems to be still going on. We're still trying to reconciliate a war in which the soldiers
Your time is up, sir.
were pardoned.
Sir,
Yes, they were pardoned and
Sir.
they gave pensions.
sir,
Yes.
your time is up. Please be respectful of that.
Please consider history.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Joshua Dermer, resident of Orange.
Honorable members of the board, thank you for taking the time to hear me out. Both my wife and I, and by extension our 7 children, we are descended of brave soldiers who, when the time came, when this Commonwealth was invaded, they rose to the occasion. They donned the gray, picked up their weapons, and they essayed to go and to fight. Some of them did not make it back. I hate to think that there will come a day when I will not be able to visually in our own town be able to tell my children of that story, that all those visible reminders that we see will not be there. I can't take my children down on Monument Avenue in Richmond now. All of that is gone. We have nothing to apologize for by keeping that monument there. Those men were extraordinarily brave. They're the type of men that we wish we could have now. The 5th commandment of God's law says, honor thy father and thy mother. And the positive duty of that extends to those who came before us. We are to honor them. We are to honor their names and extol the virtues that they had. And that's the very thing that statute tells us to do.
15 seconds, sir.
So please consider these words. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Last speaker is George Crouch, resident of Gordonsville.
Hello, my name's George Crouch. I grew up here in Orange, started school here, graduated in Orange. When I was just a young fellow in the 5th grade, we had Children of the Confederacy history taught in our schools here in Orange. And I'm very proud that I was in that. And now they're trying to make it like the Confederacy is not to be seen or heard of anymore. And it's ridiculous. It's our heritage. I get really upset when I even think about it, but my whole life I've honored this statue up here and the guys' names from Orange that are on there. And to remove it, I think that'd be a really sad day for anybody that believes in their history. And all those guys are veterans. And I just hope and pray that they stay up, because they've got a meaning that everybody should understand. They're veterans and they fought for what they thought was right. And that was the times. And why destroy it now? And it's being destroyed. Richmond, you can't take your kids to Monument Avenue anymore. Everything's got the F word on it. It's terrible. And Charlottesville's the same way. It's gonna be the same. It's pitiful. But I'm just here to stand up for my forefathers. My great-great-grandfather fought for the Civil War, for the Confederacy, and I'm very proud of him. And I think everybody that feels the same way I do, as far as the Confederacy. And thanks for your time. And I hope that statue will stand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No further speakers.
No further? Was there anyone else in the audience that wished to speak? All right. Public comment is over. I would entertain one more motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Done?